first, 40 Israelis taken hostage by terror group Hamas were set free over the weekend with the promise of more Israelis being released tonight. Now, we'll show you some vision of people being reunited with their families in just a moment, but this is a real case of mixed emotions. On the one hand, you've got incredible joy for those being reunited with families, but on the other hand, some of those people are just learning that their loved ones were killed on October 7. And of course, while 40 have been reunited with families, as we speak, there are around 200 Israelis being held at gunpoint in tunnels underneath Gaza. Let's take a look at some of those who have made it home, being reunited with families. Incredibly emotional and moving scenes. One of those hostages, Adina Moshi, a 72-year-old woman who watched her husband of 52 years be shot in front of her before she was taken hostage. She made it home at the weekend, and her nephew spoke to James Macpherson earlier today.
When she went out from the Hamas vehicle, she slapped the Hamas terrorist on his hand because they never managed to break a spirit. Maybe they break her body because they didn't feed her, they didn't treat her well, but they never managed to break her spirit.
Caleb and Liz, it's a really interesting story because this whole release of hostages has been, as you would expect, carefully stage managed on the Gaza side by Hamas terrorists. Have a look at this footage from ABC News. Hamas terrorists telling the hostages as they go into the Red Cross van, make sure you smile and wave.
Hand in hand with their Hamas captors, 50 days of imprisonment for these Israelis ends with a goodbye and an order to keep waving.
Liz, reading some of the stuff on social media, can you believe some people are saying, oh, look, they're waving and they're smiling. See, they were treated pretty well.
It's unbelievable. As if you would risk blowing it that close to freedom.
Right.
You'd be like, I will stand on my head and sing Baa Baa Black Sheep if that's what gets me out of here right now. Also, it's telling that the grandmother, whose grandson was just talking to Shari, that clip we just showed, she doesn't have any family left.
Right.
So she's like, I'm not smiling, I'm not waving, I'm slapping you on the way out, because a lot of these hostages, even some of the children are being released without their mothers, some of the wives are being released without their husbands, etc. So they've got every reason to play nice until right at the last minute, because they do not want to be riling up these animals, knowing that they're the same people who are looking after the hostages, among which are their family and or friends.
Yeah.
Whereas the grandmother's got nothing left to lose. So I loved that story today of him being like, yeah, she slapped him on her way out. Thanks for nothing.
And like, what other choice have you got, right? Like, this is another example of the success of the propaganda machine of Hamas, because these videos, which, as you can see, are very carefully stage managed and choreographed. They've been told to do what to do as they leave, to the point where even as they're filming it, they're telling them exactly what to do. And as you say, James, all these people online, the useful idiots, say, well, you know, they must have been treated well because clearly there's no ill will towards their captors. Have you ever heard of the concept of the hostage video? Like, it is literally you film someone looking like they're having a good time so you can tell the rest of the world that they're having a good time when they're not. That's what a hostage video is, you dopes, and that's exactly what they put out. But the typical types, a lot of them who go along to these rallies on Saturdays and Sundays around the country, who don't really have an understanding of what they're marching for, except for the fact that they hate the West and are on the side of the oppressed, You know, they're like, well, I mean, it must be true. If Hamas says they were having a good time and they're smiling, then they were having a good time.
Well, I mean, and you're not exaggerating, because the international relations spokesperson for Hamas, they have an international relations spokesperson, all terror groups do these days.
What a job.
Absolutely. He's got to keep the PR people happy.
He described the hostages as, quote-unquote, guests.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
this is
in the
just like a
hotel.
prolonged sleepover. We plait each other's hair, we watch movies. This is what these guys would have us believe. And of course, their followers, their supporters are more than happy to believe it. Why would we want to harm these people anyway? They're serving their purpose as hostages. It will be very interesting in the coming days and weeks to hear the first-hand accounts from those hostages as to how they were really treated. Of course, it is in Hamas's best interest to look after their well-being, because you're no use as a hostage if you're sick and or dying. The whole purpose is that you're alive and well, and therefore I can use you as a bargaining chip. Yeah. But if and when these people are recovered enough from what is no doubt a massively traumatic experience, it'll be very interesting to hear exactly what their experiences were over these harrowing weeks.
So the agreement was 50 Israelis released, so that means there should be, hopefully, another 10 tonight. And then Israel have said they will extend the pause for another day for every 10 hostages released. What do you think the chances of more hostages being released after this humanitarian pause ends today?
Well, I suppose it depends how much Hamas feels it's on the ropes, because what this has provided Hamas is an opportunity to come back, retool, assess where they're at. I mean, Hamas knows that militarily they can never actually win this war. Israel has a lot more might than they do. It's just how long they're able to keep it going. So it's provided them an opportunity, and if they think they can, squeeze another couple of days out that might help them, then it wouldn't be a surprise to see them take it. But you mentioned, the fact that these people are better off alive than dead in terms of their use to Palestine. Shari was on the Sunday Showdown with me last night, and she was talking about the fact that there is a discrepancy between the numbers of hostages that Israel believes Hamas has and how many Hamas says it has. Right. So that opens up the question, where are these people? Are they alive? Have they been killed? Are they with another group? Who's got them? And on it goes. So it's not beyond the realms of comprehension that Hamas has either hidden or killed some of these hostages that they've had for whatever reason. Maybe they feel that ultimately it's just knowing that they can't win the war. It's just that little up yours that they give to Israel. You thought you had another 20, we killed them. Because what does it matter at this point anyway? Or they've been hived off to other groups. And if they've been hived off to other groups, how will they ever get them back? The
great irony in this is every day hostages are released. That's a wonderful thing. But it's also a reminder that there's far more hostages still being kept in tunnels in Gaza than are being returned to their families. And, of course, taking hostages is a war crime. And we continually hear people screaming war crime, but always about Israel, not once about the fact that right now, every day, we're being reminded there are hostages in Gaza. That's the penultimate war crime.
What a surprise.